Minister Badassian, the floor is yours. And if I could encourage everybody to please put their questions into the chat so we can come back quickly to the two ministers with questions as soon as he's done. Minister Badassian, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Hodas. I would like to thank you also Open Government Partnership and Open Ownership for organizing this very important online discussion. It's, of course, very interesting to follow worldwide developments on open government and on accountability and transparency. And of course, COVID-19 creates many challenges for all our countries in different sectors, including healthcare, social welfare, access to justice, human rights. But even in these challenging times, Armenian government is keen to implement all the actions which were put in the reform agenda of anti-corruption and action plan for 2019 to 2022. And you may know that anti-corruption reforms is one of the core reform agendas for the new government, and we see beneficial ownership as integral part of our anti-corruption reform agenda. The first legislative act which addressed at some extent the issue of beneficial ownership was accepted in 2008 in Armenia and came into force in 2009. Of course, this legislative act, which was about fighting money laundering and terrorist financing, was not introducing proper mechanism of monitoring beneficial ownership information. And moreover, as until recently, the corruption was widespread in Armenia. We had many cases where shell companies were being registered, and many cases where companies were registered by fake shareholders, and in reality, PEPs were the beneficial owners of such companies. So, moreover, this legislative act even did not introduce that Armenian nationals can be regarded as PEPs, while having the notion of PEPs applicable only for other nationals. Other legislative acts, and I thank my colleague Lord Ahmad for mentioning the developments in Armenia. We joined in 2019 Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, and in 2019 we amended law and introduced the declaration system for companies, for business entities which operating in extractive industries field. And during the first quarter of 2020, we received the first declarations. These declarations are open without any state fee and are published in the official website of Public Registry of Armenia. And first monitoring and administrative procedures started after submission of the declarations. And we also noticed some deficiencies in the system, which we are trying to check and to correct now. I would like to inform that now we have been drafting the new amendment to the law, which will introduce the submission of declaration on beneficial ownership in all other sectors of business in Armenia. And we will do it periodically in order to have enough time for different business entities which are operating in different markets to have adequate time to know about their rights and responsibilities, and also for the state to have enough time to prepare the online platform for declarations. Another aspect which we are trying to solve by this draft is having very precise mechanism of monitoring and examination of the correctness of the information which is being declared by the companies. and of course having proper mechanism of cooperation between different state institutions, between the register of business entities and tax authorities, between law enforcement agencies, and of course financial sector, because we see this as an integral part of the mechanism to work it, to implement these standards in practice. And of course, other problem which we are solving, to have adequate sanctioning mechanism, including criminal liability for not submitting declarations, for submitting false declarations, or for false information, or including false information in the declarations. And at the end of my speech, I would like to talk also about the challenge which all of our countries may face on transparency and accountability issues. You may know that now Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, unrecognized Republic of Nagorno-Karabakh, are facing large-scale military aggression from the side of Azerbaijan and Turkey. And there is proof, and there are statements from France, Russian Federation, United States of America, that foreign terrorist fighters are involved in this conflict. And there are many evidences of war crimes which are being now implemented against the civil population of Artsakh. And I would like to stress out that, of course, it's very important to speak about high standards of accountability, of transparency, to introduce new legislation on beneficial ownership and all other mechanisms which helps us to fight money laundering and terrorist financing. But we need to know that even if minimum standards are not addressed by countries, we will have real challenge, as our societies will not accept all these changes and will not believe that all these amendments are necessary for effective fighting against money laundering and terrorist financing. So I hope that all our efforts and all our joint efforts will be implemented in practice, and we will have adequate also monitoring systems for against different countries who refuse, not only refuse to accept and implement minimum standards, but also they themselves are involved in financing terrorism. Thank you very much for all again organizing this discussion, and I wish fruitful discussion to all the participants. Thank you very much.